Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started. All right, I told you I was going to rope you back in for more, Dad, so you're back.
I'm back.
Well,
seems like I never left.
I know. It feels like you were just here. Dr. Luce had some great questions in our last episode, and they were so good that I convinced you to do another episode with me. So I'm going to play some questions from one of my clients, Dr. Luce.
Okay.
And these are a completely different category than our last episode. Okay. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this.
Thank you.
We'll get Dr. Luce's questions here.
Can't wait.
Practice management.
Okay.
How did you get your team on board when Bethany joined your practice? Did you face any resistance or backlash to implementing changes? Did everyone accept an additional voice of guidance? Then, how did you transition her out of your practice? What did you do to prepare and position your practice in her absence? Employees. I recently took a quiz about my leadership style, and it said that I resonate best with an older population. So, as a mature leader, how do you connect with younger generations? Do you do anything different to be an effective leader with employees that are in different age groups?
All right.
Great questions again.
I know, right?
Yeah.
These are another great set of questions.
Awesome.
So where do you want to start on her questions?
So her first question, how did you get your team on board when Bethany joined your practice? Mm-hmm. Remind me what the practice looked like. So, you were in college, right?
I was at DTS.
Did you not work when you were at Ouachita?
I did. So I feel like I was one of the employees, when I was at Ouachita when you bought the practice. So it was back in your little bitty building that I was working there with your small team at that point. Then I moved away after I graduated to Texas, went to DTS. During that time is when you lost the lease.
The crap.
Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
Crap hit the fan, and you lost your lease. Had to do the ground up build.
Right.
The overhead from that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Mom one of these evenings when I was at DTS. She was so
pulling her off the ledge.
She was jumping off the deep end. She, mentioned that I don't think we're gonna make it, and so Manny and my husband and I moved back, and then that's when I ended up being with you for 2.5 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And even roped Manny in at that point.
That's
he was
right.
our recall coordinator.
Right.
He would spend evenings calling patients.
That's right.
So we both kind of came back and joined the team and did everything we could to get it back on a path that Mom felt better about. A good trajectory.
We could eat.
The bills were
underwear.
Were
we could have underwear. Yeah, but you were still taking your master courses.
Yeah, I was still taking courses, and then I was able to teach some at OBU during that time as well.
So when you were at Ouachita, it was Melinda up front.
Hygienist Brenda,
one assistant.
Janine.
Mm-hmm. And then
me.
You.
Yeah.
So a very, very, very small team.
Mm-hmm.
So how did the team respond to you? Grateful to have someone.
Like, thank goodness he's got extra hands in here.
Because Melinda, the front desk person, had no dental experience.
She was brand new, yeah.
Brenda, the hygienist, was older. She had been in practice for a long time and pretty much set in her ways.
Very set in her ways, yeah.
And then Janine was brand new to dentistry.
She was brand new.
So really the only one, and of course, I had been in at that time like 20 years. Mm-hmm. So Brenda and I were really the only two. So we needed help.
Yeah.
So we were like on a raft out in the middle of the ocean looking for help. So there was no nepotism or anything like that. I think we were just all grateful to have your youth and your energy. And if you guys don't know this about Bethany, she's just a black and white person. There's very little gray in her life, so it's either right or wrong, black or white, and we needed that. And as Bethany alluded to, I bought this practice from a dentist. He was young, really, in comparison now, maybe 50, 58, but was just tired of dentistry. He had 1,500 square feet of this medical facility, and of course I didn't do my due diligence. I may have mentioned this, but I just thought he'd been there forever. I'll be there forever.
Yeah.
But I bought the practice like in June, and like in August, the doctors came and said, "Hey, we want your space next summer."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
What?" And they were just really rude about it. They said, "We want it in July. And if you're not out, we'll put your stuff on the parking lot." And I'm like, holy smokes, what a professional courtesy. So anyway, we found land. It was like 2 or 3 times more expensive than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Once they started doing the excavating work, there was a river underneath it, so they had to take care of that. So long story short, 30 days before they were going to kick us out, and this is part of your mother's frustration too, is like, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Because it's
again,
30 days.
This is a very small town. Lease space is non-existent in this town.
No.
So your only option is find land and build.
Or just go belly up.
Or just close the business, which is crazy because you just purchased it.
Yeah.
So it would be a massive loss to just fold up shop.
Yeah. And we looked at, well, do we just get in Arkansas, it's called a double wide, a trailer, and convert to a building? What are we going to do? So long story short, 30 days before, we just have a concrete slab. 30 days later, we walk into a new built office. So, we just felt like it was a God thing. At a great builder, there's no way, because it's like 3,600 square feet to start and finish, to build up from the slab in 30 days. But there we were.
They did, yeah. They worked around the clock to get
and
it
so
done.
That's been 20-something years ago. We haven't done anything other than changed out the flooring, but all the new patients will like, we just love your building. And they can't believe it's 20 years old, because your mother did a really good job with picking stuff that's just timeless.
Yeah.
It's black and whites and grays, and so it's really
red.
great.
Yeah.
So we were glad to have you. And then when you came back, we just needed your wisdom and your black and white personality. And again, at that time, was it still the same team?
No, it was Melinda and I can't remember the other person at the front.
The front desk?
Yeah, there were 2 people at the front.
I can't remember.
We brought Wanda on pretty soon after I got there, hygienist.
And Brenda was still there at that time.
Brenda was still there at that time. And Janine was there.
And Brittany?
Brittany, yes. My
Bethany's
sister.
younger sister, Brittany.
Yes, that's who the team was. Yeah.
So again, it was basically the same team.
Yeah.
So they had worked with you before, and so we were just glad to have you back, because we really did need some help.
Yeah.
And
transitioning in, so this may be helpful to kind of think about it in a slightly different perspective. So one of the things when I came in, I had Mom at the back of my head going, we're not going to make it. And so I came in a very there is a problem, I need to fix it type mentality. And so I, despite having worked at your office from a management or leadership standpoint, I had never had that kind of role in your practice. So this was a new role for me as well. And something that I don't think I ever intended to do. Funny enough, it lit the fire, and this is what I do now. I love it.
Yeah.
But when I came in, it was just like, okay, my family's business needs help, and I'm going to figure out what needs to be done. So it was, I would say, several months of me trying to figure out what I even need to do.
Right.
So I don't think I came in with
a game plan
or immediate changes, and oh no, Bethany's coming and she's got this 5-point plan that she's going to work through. It was pretty much like, I don't know, I got to figure out. And so I started at the one place where I knew, I'm like, well, Mom says there's not enough money. I got to figure out a way to save money.
Yeah.
And so I started from the expense side of things, trying to figure out what are all these fees? Where is everything going? What can we do? So before we even got to how can the practice produce more, I was doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes that really didn't even
affect anyone else.
It didn't affect anybody.
Right.
And so I think in hindsight, that was a blessing.
Right.
Because I am so black and white that if I would have come in with a game plan, I think I would have been so hard-headed about it that it may have caused, friction. But instead, because I didn't know what else to do and was working behind the scenes, it was more an extra body. It felt similar to when with the old with the 1,500 square foot, just like, oh, great, we've got an extra set of hands, is what I think it felt like to the team.
We've got someone else to go down in the boat with us. Misery loves company. So if we're going down, Bethany's going with us. Well, and two, as you're thinking about other practices and they bring in a person, a lot of times that person is brought in to resolve a need or resolve a problem, but a lot of times the team isn't aware maybe that there's a problem. Mm-hmm. So I think one of the things that would help in bringing in a new team member is for everyone to realize, here's a problem that we're having. Mm-hmm. Here's a need. Whether it's financial, because that's embarrassing, as your dad and as the dentist, it's embarrassing to say, man, we're struggling. We're struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. But y'all got any money you can roll into to the office? But so if you bring and you have a culture, and then you bring in this new person that might change that culture. Mm-hmm. And maybe the culture's bad. Maybe it needs to be changed. But you got to be careful how you do that, because you may set up that new person to fail because they see them as a bacteria coming into a healthy organism.
That's right.
Here's this, virus coming in. It's going to change everything. So it's just like when we're talking with a patient that comes in and they don't realize they have a problem, whether it's perio or dental, you've got to educate them. And so with your team, they need to know, here's where we're struggling. And it doesn't seem like we know how to solve. We need some help. Mm-hmm. And it's no reflection on any of you guys. Right. We need some help. Yeah. And that's why we're thinking of this other staff member. Mm-hmm. So for you, there was a distinct advantage because you'd been there before. Mm-hmm. They knew your personality. They know you, and the fact that you didn't come in with an agenda. Right. But I'm just here to help. Yeah. So as your offices look at hiring people, I would not hire them as a savior. Mm-hmm. They're just here to help. They're just one of us. They're just here to help, and then your team members will maybe listen to them because it's not a new game plan. It's just someone that's just going to help us improve what we're doing.
Well, and I think let's say I've had multiple clients over the years that have brought in a new office manager or somebody in leadership, and one of my advice to all of those office managers is change nothing.
Right.
Come in and you get to know your team.
Yeah.
You spend time with them. You spend time in their role. You attempt their role. If you're qualified, you attempt to do what they're doing. You live and breathe their life before you attempt to make any changes. Because if you want people to follow you, you are going to have to gain their respect. Right. And if you come in and try to change what they love and hold dearly, they're going to resist you, and you will not be able to change a thing in that practice. Yeah. And honestly, that's my consulting philosophy, which is odd because consultants are known to bring in changes. Yeah. And I'm very clear with all of my new clients, please do not expect that of me. Right. Because if you want me to have long-term results with your team, I have to gain the respect of your team.
Yeah.
And so there may be a few months where you're like, what in the
Why
heck is she doing?
Yeah.
But I am gaining rapport with that team. I am building a relationship with them, because if I can get them behind me, we can do anything.
Right.
If I come in and I'm against them,
Yeah.
you're paying me for nothing.
Right.
Because I can't be there every day to make the
Yeah.
change. Your team has to be the one
Yeah.
that makes the change. And so I think from bringing in a leader into your team, a manager into your team, if they could just have that mindset of, yes, I know change is expected of me. I know I need to make a difference in this, practice.
Right.
But I can't do that until I spend some time getting to know what's actually going on.
Reminds me of, remember our practice in Bryant?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we had a consultant come in, a husband and wife team. And long story short, after a period of time, they said, you need to fire Brenda up front. And I thought Brenda was doing a good job, and we went to church together.
Mm-hmm.
But an idiot, I said, well, okay, I don't
Yeah.
understand. Fired her. Oh, my Lord. She probably still hates me to this day. It's not good that you're going to church together, because she was definitely not praying for me at church. But yeah, and I look back and I think, why did I listen to her?
Yeah.
She didn't know Brenda. She didn't know our practice. They came from out of state.
Yeah. And that quickly, to make that quick assessment.
Yeah.
Like you can't make that decision. That's not a short-sighted decision. That's one that really takes a lot of time to evaluate.
So I think it's one of those things like you're talking about, that some consultants that come in and say, I've got to do something to earn my money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fire Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a good idea. So I like your philosophy, because, if you lose a team member because you're too aggressive, what have you gained? Now you've got to hire someone, train someone.
Yeah.
Do they fit or not?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just goes back to, again, the older I get, I have more grace and mercy.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, my whole world is gray. Your whole world is black and white.
Yes.
I've got to have black and white people around with me. You don't want to come to work? No problem. Don't. We'll carry it. We'll carry the load. Yeah, we're booked in all 6 operatories, but you don't worry. Have a great day. I love you. Man.
There were so many battle of the wills there. Once I finally did start, trying to take control over some things, that we definitely had our differences.
I had to learn my place. You're a small cog in this wheel. And that's what I tell other dentists too. Honestly, when you look at our practice, and it's probably true, our practice, I am, over everything, really the least important. I'm the mechanic. I do the mechanical work.
Yeah.
But everybody else makes it work.
Mm-hmm.
If it was just me, I don't know what I'd be doing,
No, I think that's a good point. And again, I think that's important for practice owners to hear on how to work with their team and the leaders on their team. Because I think, to your point, there very well are plenty of practice owners that do have...
They're good at it.
They're good at other things. So, they're good at the business side of it. They're good at the, team building side of it and all of that. But most, I would say the majority, are not.
Thank you for making me feel good.
You're not alone.
I know.
So they're the mechanics of the operation, and it does, a lot hinges on them.
Yeah.
But it really does take, depending upon those key team members, to do a lot of what's needed to keep the business running.
Yeah.
It can't just depend on the dentist.
And it's really freeing to realize that it's not all on me. That's a big burden to try to carry on your shoulders, that the success of all of it is on my shoulders. So it really is nice to be surrounded by 10 women who just they love dentistry. They love me, I think. I may be fooling myself, Oh, man.
So when you are, let's say you brought, so for me, I was with your practice for two and a half years and
Yes.
then moved on.
Yeah,
I
thanks.
can't remember who, so,
Followed you?
well,
Or
I
what we did.
left, and then at the time, Teresa was still there. Teresa Perkable was still there.
Yeah.
But I can't remember, I don't remember passing the torch to anybody in particular.
Let's see. Melinda, still there. Still there to this day. And Teresa. Isn't it terrible? We didn't do it. The question was, how did you prepare? We didn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't. We didn't want you to go. So I'm with you. I can't remember the specific transition.
I remember setting Teresa up for a lot of things,
Yeah.
knowing that she was going to continue to be there. I remember that, but I don't think that we hired anybody new. I don't remember training anybody new, and this is just it was many years ago, so I don't know that we had a good
Game plan.
transition plan, other than I think I was putting a lot of my eggs in the Therese basket because she was fantastic.
Well, and when you think about it, we were fortunate enough to know that you were so emotionally we were ready, and you did as much as you could as far as practice management. But when you think about most practices, when they have a transition, it's abrupt. Like, it's Monday and I hate your guts. This is my last day.
Yes.
Screw you. I'm never coming back. So it's hard to prepare for that.
Yeah.
Because it is normally abrupt. They just quit. I'm giving you two weeks. So
if you're lucky.
Yeah. So then it's just pulling the team together again. Okay, here's our problem. We've lost this team member. How are the rest of y'all feeling? Are any of you following her or him? And so this created this problem. So here's the problem. The solution is we need another person. Do you guys have any suggestions? Yeah. The consequences are it's going to be tough for a little bit, because this was a key person, whether it's front desk or hygiene, or it's created a problem. I think it's important to be honest that we're sorry. We didn't. If you're really sorry.
Yeah.
If you're not really sorry, but if you're sorry that person's gone, and maybe as the leader take responsibility. I'm sure I had some. If you didn't get to have an exit interview, you might say, "I'm not sure really what happened. Do you guys know?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So this won't happen again. So you can make me aware if it's my responsibility. If most of it falls on my shoulders, what could I do differently? But we're going to need to hire somebody. So I think that's the best.
Really important. And as you're talking, I'm thinking of a scenario that's come up in these last few months with one of my clients. Brought an office manager in pre-COVID. She stayed with him. She was underperforming in a lot of areas. And he was very gracious, extended a lot of understanding, kept coming back. Hey, remember, this is what I brought you in for. I need this, and this. And what she was really good at was relationships with the team. So she became a sounding board for them. They were very trusting and connected with her. Well, I got in, he's been a client of mine for years, and I got in with her and started, he was like, can you just help me with holding her accountable? Because I've tried on my own for years, and she's not taking the bait. She's not, accelerating the way that she needs to. Maybe she just needs some support from you. And you and I both know how this goes, because nobody likes accountability.
No.
And nobody likes support. So again, try to build some rapport with her and really just kind of get connected with her. And hey, this list that this doctor keeps giving you, we're actually going to put that on a monthly meeting. And every month you're going to have this monthly meeting with the doctor, and you're going to report on these things. And oh, by the way, in between those, you're going to be doing this and this and this. So we just want to create structure to this. I know you're doing it. But then we've got it in a structured way. And within a week, she had bailed. And so what was concerning is she had such good connections with the team.
Right.
And as she has been gone now, the communication with the team has continued.
With her?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, she's continued to talk. So she's already taken one additional team member with her. Yeah. She continues, one of his longest standing employees, who is fantastic. She's been committed to him for the longest time, is still getting, and she's on, thankfully this long-standing employee is honest enough with me to go, she keeps reaching out.
Yeah.
She's telling me how big our bonuses are. She's telling me how much her pay is. And she's like, she said, I am so committed to my doctor, but I'll be honest, it starts to wear on me.
Yeah.
And so thinking of what you're saying right here, this office manager abruptly leaves, right? We weren't anticipating this. To have that moment or multiple moments with the team where we're vulnerable and we go, I don't know, I can't quite figure out what happened. Yeah, let's use this as an opportunity to reconnect, to talk with everybody, make sure y'all are okay. My desire is for y'all to be happy and content in this place, and I need to know if there's things going on. But to have that moment, I think is really smart, because then we don't know what happens post.
No.
Right. I'm lucky enough to know inside scoop that she is continuing to contact all of her former team, and that is a huge risk to the practice. And so if there's not this chance to reconnect with the practice owner, because she had been the liaison essentially between the practice owner and the team, she was the middleman,
right. And
so for that doctor to take that opportunity to go, I gotta reconnect and make sure this team feels connected to me, not to her.
And that's difficult.
That's very hard.
Very, very difficult. It reminds me of years ago when we lived at Doubletree Lane. The guy that lived next to us, I've forgotten. I'm 71. I've forgotten his name, but he worked at a church in Little Rock, and I've also forgotten. But anyway,
was it the Lindermans?
Yeah, the Lindermans. Thank you so much. But he worked at a church in Little Rock, and he was on the janitorial staff. But we would talk about church a lot. They had a huge staff. And so let's say they hired a person in youth, a staff person, that they're youth. And they've been doing youth for a while, but that passion has changed. Mm-hmm. And so now they're not as passionate. They're passionate about something else in ministry. So what that church would do is they would sit down and say, okay, what is your passion now? And so they would address that. They wouldn't say, okay, you're done, go to another church. Yeah. They would reposition him within the church. So I think like with this particular employee, not meeting the standards, so could we reposition this person utilizing her strengths and hire another person to meet these? Because apparently she was like a high I. Mm-hmm. She needed to be a C and an S. Mm-hmm. She's not. She's never going to be.
Yeah.
So you're just banging your head against the wall trying to change this person into what you need when their core is not that.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, and everything... Retrospect is always perfect because you look back and I could have done things. So at the time, you don't realize how important this individual is to the practice.
Right.
And the loss of that person, the long-term effects. Mm-hmm. But if you could go back, you would say, okay, this person is really critical to the team. How can I reposition this person and maybe find someone else to accomplish these things that I need to? And of course, then that goes back to finances. Well, can I afford another person? But now in hindsight, it probably would have been cheaper to hire somebody else to accomplish all these tasks that this person never.
And then that's still transition, right? So that's still transition for the team that we've got to prepare them for.
But you still got the cheerleader in place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The advocate in place, so they feel listened to. But again, that's always in hindsight. Mm-hmm. At the time,
and you can never predict it, right?
No,
so it's one of those things you just
things are gonna happen. But I think you need to have one of Melinda's father-in-law recently died, and we went to his funeral, and I just love. This is crazy. Most of the funerals I go to now are they've been cremated, so there's not a body lying there, so it's less emotional. It's more like a celebration, and I think you need to, when you lose a staff member, you need to have that funeral.
Yeah.
We loved that person.
Yeah.
They may have left mad, but we loved that person. They're a part of us.
Right. Part
of our team, and we have lost them, and I've been as sad as you are, even if I had to fire them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
It really affects me also. So I understand your pain. So I think you have to address that and be vulnerable to that.
I agree.
Let them see your humanity and your...
Yeah, to have a moment to experience the loss.
Yeah.
And then we're going to move on from that.
Yeah.
But it's this period of time where it opens things up. We're a little bit more vulnerable, and there is some closure essentially that's built in that process, and we reconnect as people apart from that person now.
And it breaks that down where if the doctor has had to fire that, or you had to fire for the doctor, if they can see the doctor's heart, that I really did love that person. We couldn't work together, but it doesn't mean I don't care for them, because what they think is, okay, you got rid of that person. Am I next?
Yeah, it creates a feeling of fear.
Yeah,
everybody's worrying what's going on.
Yeah,
but when there's that transparency that we're talking through it together, it puts them at ease.
Right.
But if it's hush hush behind the scenes, next day this person's gone, I don't know what's going on.
Let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're dead to me.
Yeah.
They never worked here.
Oh my goodness. And I would say too, we got to always be prepared for mentally. We never know.
No.
There's no guarantees that this, even if your team is just perfectly perfect, you know, there's just, you never know when somebody's got life plans that they're building, and we just can be surprised. And so we have to always kind of prepare for that, build in some redundancy to make sure, does somebody else know their tasks? Are they the only one in the office that knows how to do A, B, and C?
Yeah.
That is a risk.
Yeah. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket. That basket can walk.
That basket can get hit by a car.
Right.
I mean, like, you know, it's just we cannot plan our business that way. So building in that redundancy where somebody else knows, even if it's just pieces of point A.
Yeah.
And some people know pieces of point B. At least you've got something built in where if that person is not there the next day, we can still function as an office. And I think that's really important.
I walk in every day, well, maybe not every day, probably every day, and look at the staff, and I think, who would be the first to go?
Yeah.
Not my choice, but
their choice.
They're just like, I'm really done.
Yeah.
You know. And I think about that often. You know, what we do without that person, and you know, I'm just to the point now where everybody's replaceable. I'm replaceable. I'll be replaced someday. So even though it would devastate me to lose any one of those 10 women, I know life would go on. And if and when an employee leaves, I think you need to celebrate them, the contribution that they made, address the sadness of them leaving.
Yeah.
And then repaint the future. Okay.
Yeah. This is our new
plan. We got a new future. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
they're not in it. We're sad that they're not in it, but we all have bills to pay, so let's get back to work.
We got to survive.
Yeah.
We got to move on. Okay, so I want to hit one question before we wrap up, which is how do you relate to people that are not in your
age bracket? Yeah. So
that was a very kind way that she said, as a mature person.
As a mature person, we know you understand everybody that's in the nursing home. You relate to them, but people that have a life ahead of them, how do you relate to them? And you know, I thought about that. I think I'm fortunate to be it's nothing I did, but I'm like your grandmother. Just wired like your grandmother. So I don't feel like I have to like get down on their level. You know, in my mind, I think I'm cool, but I know that in reality, I'm not. Having grown up a really strong Southern Baptist, you know, we don't drink, we don't smoke. So, but I don't have a problem with them doing anything. But they feel a little pressured when we're out.
Yeah.
Am I condemning them because everybody's drinking? But I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't care. So I don't. In relating to them, I just try to be myself.
Yeah.
I don't try to be anything other than myself. But again, I'm not pushing on them any of my beliefs. I just accept them the way they are.
Yeah.
So I talk about their families all the time, all day long. I'm saying, hey, I know Kara, your daughter Emma, is having bullying at school. Tell her to knock the soup out of that. You know? So we just talk. The way that I relate to them is I just talk about their lives.
Yeah.
Their lives. I show interest, and I really am interested in their lives and what's going on in their lives. And let them know that I love them. And I thank them every day. But they're different. The younger generation is different.
Yeah.
Than when you and I were in practice, and Brittany was in practice, and Janine was with us. I was a lot more hard-nosed and driven. And now when Brittany comes into the office, she'll go, what has happened to this place?
Yeah.
What happened to you? You know? But you can't...
Yeah.
You just can't drive them so hard. Like, you know, we're very productive, and I like to have my 6 operatories. I like to be in all of them at the same time, and if there's time that they're not inside, I want you to be on the phone. Not so much anymore. We text a lot. We have a texting system. Text these patients. Janine and Brittany would always be doing something.
Yeah.
Not on their phone.
Yeah.
But these younger generations, you know,
Yeah.
they'll be in the sterile on their phone. And so I have to fight that urge inside me not to just
Blow up.
what the heck, you know. But I've gotten older and more mellow, and some of those battles just are, because when we are working, they work hard.
Exactly.
And they do a really good job. So we've got 10 minutes here.
Let them get their phone out.
Yeah, you know.
They earned the 10 minutes.
Yeah, they did. And I could be a butt about it, and then they quit. And now I've got to retrain somebody. So was that battle really worth fighting? So it may be that I'm getting soft, but I just think some battles with this new generation, they need to be in contact with the world. So
let
them be it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, the interest in their lives is going to always trump everything. Even if you're two very different people, if you show that genuine interest, it covers kind of a multitude of differences that can happen. So I think that's such a good takeaway. Anybody can implement that. You know, just show
be
interest.
Yeah,
and care about
I'm
their
always
lives.
interested in their newest tattoo.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Some of
Talk
them
about
have,
the beauty of that.
I'm like, I keep saying, man, I just love your tattoos, and I really do. And I said, I fell in love with them too late, because I could have a tattoo today, and tomorrow you wouldn't know what it is, because that tissue has changed so quickly. Oh, but, you know, and I really do probably love them more than they love me.
Yeah.
But I pretend that they love me. But I know it's still a boss-employee relationship, but
you genuinely care. It's
I
not
really,
a fake care. It's
I really do, but
and we're just going to assume that they care.
I'm going to assume that they're
What's
going
the
to
harm
show
in
up
assuming that?
at my funeral when my ashes are up there,
and they're going to celebrate
and
your
they're going
life.
to celebrate. That butt is gone. We're going to get a young, good-looking guy in here.
They're going to be flying high.
Okay, one fun thing about you.
Oh, okay.
When you were there during that 2.5 years, this is Bethany's, and you were, I think this is when you were trying to find us money.
Yeah.
You remember going to a patient's house
Yes.
to collect money?
Dude.
Bethany went to a patient's house to collect money.
And
I
it
said,
worked.
Bethany, you can't do that.
It worked. It was
Yeah.
successful.
Yeah,
So.
she did it. So, if any of you guys need money, Bethany, the hitman, will pick it up for you.
Hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. That's the way I see it.
Yeah. So thanks, Bethany.
I think I had my big husband in the car just in case. So.
Manny, it's pretty big.
Yeah, he was back up. Thanks again, Dad, for joining us.
Thank you again. Thanks for having me. I love you.
Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.